The Canadian Maritimes, Canada's East Coast ocean playground. When you mention Nova Scotia, visions of fishing boats, lobster pots, and some of the most magnificent scenery in the country come to mind. Today, the Maritimes plays host to something a little quicker and a little louder. Robbie Crouch, a six-time ACT champion, has had a stranglehold on Scotia Speedworld for the past 2 years, winning 3 of 4 races. The Tampa, Florida native holds the 1-lap, 100-lap, and 200-lap records at the speed plant.
It's been a great track for me. I've run here 3 times, won 3 races. Just something between me and the track. I mean, the track likes me. Some places you go, you just can't win a race, even though you run well. And this one is one that I unload off the trailer and run great. So, Junior, it's not a track that suits him completely, but I think that he has a lot of respect for a track that's this tight. And I think when the checkered flag falls that he's going to be around. So I've got to be especially careful to stay out of trouble and yet try to get to the front before he does.
Maliga Mines near Halifax is the birthplace of #1 stock car racer Junior Hanley, probably the best short track stock car racer in North America.
Well, it'll be either whoever gets the best setup will win the race. And like you're going to have to take it a lot easier than you did last year or the year before, because like the asphalt and cement is different. Like so when you run through the asphalt, the grip's different in the cement. And it'll take a real funny setup to win the race here. So like right now, practicing now with the sun out really ain't going to tell us nothing until the sun goes down. So we're going to probably go out and make sure we don't have any oil leaks or anything like right now, and make sure the car's running pretty good. And then after the sun goes down, you really work on the car for a setup.
Junior is chasing a 2nd consecutive ACT championship. And today on the way, Hanley returns to his Nova Scotia roots on our Summer of Thunder Tour 92.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Eric Thomas, along with Dave Moody, and welcome to the GM Motorsport 200. We're at Scotia Speedworld in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Dave, a new adventure here for Raceline, running under the lights, but it's just part of that grassroots theme we've been talking about.
Well, stock car racing short track style was designed to be done under the lights. The colors look brighter, the cars look faster, the fans love it, the drivers love it. This is racing at its best.
Maliga Mines is a little community not too far from here. Just happens to be the hometown of one Junior Hanley, so this is more or less his homecoming.
It is indeed. Now residing in Campbellville, Ontario, but Junior Hanley was born and bred here in Nova Scotia. 1 year ago, he returned to win the Budweiser Triple Crown, $50,000 in front of the home crowd. Triple Crown not on the line tonight, but Junior Hanley on his home turf is one tough customer.
This track has been kind to a lot of people besides Junior, like how about a former 6-time champion that comes all the way from Florida. And for more on that story, let's go trackside with John Massingberg.
Well, gentlemen, contrary to popular belief, while Junior Hanley may have originated from this area, he doesn't own this racetrack. It belongs to this man, the 6-time national champion, and the man that has won here the last 3 years in a row. Robbie Crouch, the Tampa Tornado. Robbie, what's it going to take to get around the racetrack tonight?
Where I'm starting, we got to wait for the outside groove to come to us. About 50 laps into the race, I figure we can get out there and maybe make a way to the front.
Then it's a dash for the front, Robbie, right then?
Well, you still got a lot of time. We'll have 150 laps to make some moves, but, you know, if we're not making some moves by that time, then we're in trouble.
Well, nobody knows their way around this racetrack better than Robbie Crouch. If there's any one thing that should ought to happen tonight, though, we may want to rename the Tampa Tornado the Halifax Hurricane. We'll be ready to go green when we return on Raceline.
The GM National Stock Car Series is brought to you by GM Parts, the expert choice. Kodak Gold Plus Film. You can't keep the moment without Kodak. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars. Revell, the world's model maker. And by Budweiser Racing. It's a Bud race.
Huge crowd here at Halifax, and here's how they line up for the GM Motorsport 200. Kim Wallace, top ACT rookie, would a win tonight boost his totals.
And on the outside pole, no rookie, 30 years in the racing game, Ralph Nason of Unity, Maine.
Also in row number 2, Brad Layton from Center Harbor, New Hampshire, in the Buick Regal. ACT Rookie of the Year in '91, loves these small tracks.
And slated to go 4th, the former GM Series champion, Randy McDonald of Oshawa, Ontario, the GM Parts Pro Shop Chevrolet.
Here he is, Junior Hanley, going for his 8th ACT win and his 6th on the GM National Stock Car Series.
And outside Hanley, the 46, Bill Zardo Sr. of Brampton, Ontario, in his all-on crane service Chevrolet Lumina.
Here's the balance of the field. Row 4, Dean Plattenberg and Rolly McDonald.
Row number 5, young Scott Frazier and Robbie Crouch.
Row 6, Steve Henderson and Mike McKenzie.
Terry Clattenburg and Robbie Thompson in 7.
Row 8, it's Derek Lynch and Andre Baudouin.
Row 9, Blair Bissett and Roger LaPearl.
Dave Whitlock and Dan Beatty in row number 10.
Beaver Dragon and Kevin LePage in 11.
And Claude Leclerc and Doug Stokes in row 12. And this is a look at the GM National Stock Car Series points. 8 out of 12 events. Junior Hanley with a 62-point lead on Randy McDonald. Dave, this is going to go right down to the wire.
No question about that. And this really is a track that Robbie Crouch can gain some ground on. He's won here in the past. This is his kind of racetrack. It's the four-wheeled equivalent of racing motorcycles in a barrel. Quarter-mile racetrack. Hard racing all the way around as we get set for green.
John Holberg with the green flag to turn him loose. And the GM Motorsport 200 is underway. And Ralph Nason, either Unity Main and car number 10, gets the jump on the field. A great start for Nason.
Already a surprise in this one. The outside lane was not supposed to be the fast way around. Everything we've seen in qualifying all weekend long has led everyone to believe that that inside lane with the new concrete downstairs was going to be the fast way around this racetrack.
You mentioned the difference in traction and grip between the concrete pads down below and the asphalt on top. I'm really going to think that Nason is surprised to see Randy McDonald way out there.
Randy McDonald trying to get a grip up high. The concrete pads put down just a week or so ago. The asphalt down on the bottom had begun to tear up. They've replaced it, but now it's two different racing surfaces inside and out. Ralph Nason in the 10 leads it. Kim Wallace holds on to second. Randy McDonald third, then Brad Layton and Junior Hanley.
I want to tell you, though, a couple of turns ago. Now here's McDonald again. Now he's going to take the position away from Kim Wallace in the 27. He almost did it a lap ago.
Randy McDonald down to the inside. Looks like he's going to lead the 1X through, leaning on each other in the corners. This is short track racing, folks. They will mark up the bodywork before it's over.
It is a tight little track here at Halifax at Scotia Speedworld. As we go by the stripe, just part of the capacity crowd, you know there's going to be a lot of body damage before this one is over.
Kim Wallace on the outside in the 27 holds off young Brad Layton. Layton in the 1X drops back again to third. Hanley is fourth. Then Rolly McDonald in the number 5 position.
Really impressed with Brad Layton in the 1X. This guy just seems to get better each and every time out. Back to Junior Hanley. You knew, Dave, he was not going to be too far from the front.
Junior Hanley never is very far from the front. This is going to be an interesting race, though, for Hanley. This is not one of his typical dominating kind of racetracks. He likes the long tracks where he can put the horsepower to work and really let it fly. This is a tough little racetrack, a handling track. Hanley may not be at the advantage here that he is at places like Santa Ana.
I want to tell you something, too. Hanley's car is not handling the best. That car is pretty loose. Now, look at McDonald here in the 0-1, really putting the heat on Nason in the 10 up front.
Randy McDonald closing in, and he's doing it quickly. Right on the back bumper, looking to the high side again out of turn number 4. Randy McDonald apparently comfortable with that high line. Comfortable, I guess so. He goes to the outside, and he may take the lead on the tough outside lane the way nobody thought it could be done.
McDonald trying it on the outside. He told me before the race began, this track is going to be pretty slippery, Eric. I don't know if I can run on the outside, but so far so good. He's sticking like glue, and he takes Nason.
Ralph Nason running him hard on the inside, but Randy McDonald has got the lead down into the low line. Randy McDonald in the GM Parts Pro Shop Chevrolet on top of the heap now.
And here they come by the wall for you on the Sony Dynamax wall cam.
Randy McDonald out on top, and as strong as that car has been, Eric, I'd expect to see him begin to pull away from Ralph Nason. McDonald doing it up on the outside, has the lead. There's the battle back around 7th and 8th place. The 46 of Bill Zardo, the 48 of Robbie Crouch, already making progress through the field.
Robbie Crouch out of Tampa, Florida, loves running up here. He's won 3 out of the last 4 races here at Scotia Speedworld.
And as we expected, Randy McDonald, after taking the lead, has made short work of it. He is pulled away by 7 or 8 car lengths. Ralph Nason, another 7 or 8 up on Kim Wallace. You can see the brakes in the corners glowing bright red. And that's one of the fun things about night racing. You don't see that during the day. This track is awfully hard on brakes. Virtually no banking, a very tight racing surface, and these drivers have to babysit the brakes so they'll be fresh out by the halfway point.
They are glowing red with the friction. Now, this is the view from Randy McDonald's car, looking back at the 10 of Ralph Nason. This car of McDonald's just handling beautifully around here.
He's got himself an edge, but not a big one as Ralph Nason keeps him in sight. Here's Robbie Crouch going to the outside. The 48 car working on Rolly McDonald as they come out of turn 4. Crouch drops back. Derek Lynch in the 15 sticks his nose into the action.
Derek Lynch is trying to hang tough here. There's the 7 of Andre Baudouin. Crouch on the outside as well, like Randy McDonald. Maybe there's something out there, Dave. I don't know.
Well, there's going to have to be by the end of the evening, because quite simply, you are not going to be able to come from the back of the pack to the front all on the inside. These drivers will not make that many mistakes. Anyone that wants to get to the front and take the lead, like Robbie Crouch, is going to have to do some passing up high.
Robbie Crouch trying to gain some ground, and a great job by Bill Zardo Sr. in car number 46. Now we've got Dan Beatty and Derek Lynch. We've got some problems here. Lynch goes all the way around to bring out the first yellow.
Field scattering around the stalled automobile of Derek Lynch. Lynch trying to refire the car as the yellow flag waves. He'll get it back underway and fall in at the rear of the field. A classic battle for real estate. Dan Beatty saw the hole. Derek Lynch tried to close it.
Norwood, Ontario's Derek Lynch off and underway in the Onsat Buick. He's got an onboard radio. Let's find out what happened from the source. Eric Thomas, Raceline. Derek, what happened?
The 0 car and I got together going down into 1. I guess he didn't think I was going to go back down for the turn. We just touched wheels going in. I got around.
No contact?
What's that?
No contact?
Yeah, there was contact.
Everything all right, though? Any damage we can speak of?
Not that I can tell. No, everything feels okay, Eric.
Thank you, Derek.
So Derek Lynch takes his place at the rear. Let's take another look at it. Beatty fights his way underneath. Contact made. Around goes Derek Lynch. Eric, you've got the race leader on the horn now.
Randy McDonald, Eric Thomas, you there?
Yeah, Eric.
Let's get back to the handling. Is the track getting any slipperier? The car just seems to be sticking anywhere you want to put it.
Oh, it's really, really slippery out here. I'm surprised we didn't get a yellow flag sooner.
What's the strategy here on a track so small, Randy, or is that an elementary question?
Well, right now, I just want to keep a bunch of left cars between me and whoever's second, so I'll just set a nice pace, and hopefully I can keep the left cars between me and second.
Well, so far the pace has been good for Randy McDonald. He leads this, the GM Motorsport 200 at Halifax. Time now for Performance Racing News, North America's Motorsport Authority. Little ACT trivia here for you. Give you a section of the race to think about the answer. Florida's Robbie Crouch has won the ACT Championship half a dozen times. Who has the most number of Canadian titles? A, Claude Leclerc, B, Roger LaPerle, or C, Rolly McDonald? Answer later.
The Newfoundland driver, Doug Stokes, and the Cumberland Mall Chevrolet making an unplanned pit stop here under the caution period. Some token service. He's down and away and will rejoin at the rear as we look at the top 5. McDonald again on top, followed by Nason, Wallace, Layton, and Hanley as we set for the restart.
Pace cars dropped off again. John Holbrook's got the green flag to turn him loose. And here's the restart with Randy McDonald making the break already.
McDonald with the luxury of 3 lapped cars between himself and the number 2 man, Ralph Nason. Beaver Dragon in the 75, Dave Whitlock, Kevin LePage. Nason just has to bide his time, make his way through the traffic, and try and pull himself back into contention.
Kim Wallace, who had the pole here for this event, just trying to pedal hard and not get swallowed up. See some contact here with LePage and Beaver Dragon, and up front still Randy McDonald in the 0-1.
McDonald, as he did earlier on, able to just pull away from all challengers. The man on the move is Ralph Nason. He goes to the outside of the slower traffic in car number 10. Right behind him, Kim Wallace, then Layton and Junior Hanley.
You remember early in the event, I think Ralph Nason was kind of surprised that Randy McDonald was going to try that pass on the outside groove, and now Nason's going to try it himself here.
Down the front straightaway, Robbie Crouch continues his march toward the front of the field. Scott Frazier, Crouch, Dan Beatty, all making their way around the Dave Whitlock automobile. Here's the view out the front windshield of the Beatty car. Crouch right ahead of him. Dan Beatty's picked a pretty good guy to follow through the pack. Robbie Crouch, who's won just about everything here over the past 3 years.
That's David Whitlock in the Motorcraft Ford, car number 92, last year's CASCAR champion. He's trying not to get swallowed up here as well, but look at the lead that Randy McDonald is starting to stretch out here now.
Randy McDonald, the class of the field here in the early going, but we've talked already about how this tough racetrack can change things in a hurry. Ralph Nason just hanging around in the number 2 spot. Car number 10 running in second, then the 27 of Kim Wallace in third, but right now it is all Randy McDonald.
Randy picking up a victory earlier in June at Cayuga, looking for his 3rd career ACT win. And Robbie Crouch continues to try and move up here, and Dan Beatty in the 53 as the yellow comes out to slow the field down a second time.
Andre Beaudoin in the PP Electric car number 7 taking an off-road excursion over the banking. Refires it quickly and will jump back in on the tail end of the lead lap. Let's see what happened. This is the Roger LaPerle in car. Right in front of him, Bill Zardo. To the outside, the Beaudoin car. They bump coming out of the corner. Andre Beaudoin, the rear end breaking away. Goodbye, Andre Beaudoin. Over the top, but no harm done. He's back in on the tail.
30 laps shy of halfway. More on Raceline from Halifax in a moment. Welcome back to Raceline, the GM Motorsport 200 from Scotia Speedworld in Halifax. Eric Thomas, Dave Moody, and John Massingbird. All right, the answer to Performance Racing News Trivia. Florida's Robbie Crouch won the ACT Championship 6 times. Who's won the most number of Canadian titles? Leclerc, LaPerle, or McDonald?
The answer is A, the Canadian Ironman, Claude Leclerc, with 5 Canadian championships. In addition, is the all-time leader in career starts.
Race start right now. Randy McDonald in the 0-1 has the point. We're just shy of the halfway mark. Green flag is up, and Randy McDonald takes control right off the bat. But look where Nason is.
Ralph Nason, as close as anyone has been to Randy McDonald today, up on the outside, actually puts a fender in front. Nason may take the lead back on the outside. Racing Ralph Nason, top side in the 10. Randy McDonald down low in the 0-1. Nason leads them across the line.
Do you know how hard it is to go around tight corners like this at these speeds and not make contact? It is amazing. These two guys aren't banging on each other. They get the back ends really squirrely in the turns.
These two drivers are right on the edge right now. McDonald on the inside, trying to hold off Ralph Nason. Nason dropping back now in the corners. Randy McDonald has fought him off one more time, but that was a close shave for the GM Park Pro Shop team.
Great job by Ralph Nason to stay with Randy McDonald, clearly the best handling car. And here comes Robbie Crouch, the Tampa Tornado in the 48. He makes his move again towards the front.
Randy McDonald out in front. Robbie Crouch trying to catch him, and he's trying to do it on the inside. He was trapped momentarily up in that high groove, but he dive bombs in front of the 53 of Dan Beatty, right behind the 0 of Scott Frazier. Frazier, the local driver, the youngster in only his first American-Canadian Tour start. And Eric, I've got to say, he's having a good one.
NASCAR rookie. His dad was a regular campaigner with ACT and the GM National Stock Car Series. And it looks like Scott, the son, has just picked up where his dad left off. He's doing a great job out here.
And he's going to get some lessons now. Robbie Crouch on the back bumper, throws the fake high, dives down low out of 2, but young Scott Frazier holds him off down the back straightaway. Robbie Crouch, Dan Beatty have been tag teaming their way from the back of the pack, making good progress. Here's the look again, out the front windshield of the Dan Beatty Buick. There's Scott Frazier, and to the high side, Robbie Crouch once again knocking him down the hard way.
And right up in the front of this big, long freight train, the 0-1 of Randy McDonald. It is, though, the story being, Dave, this is a very, very tough track to pass on, no matter what corner you're going to try.
Robbie Crouch gave it all he had on the outside, but the youngster, Scott Frazier, in the 0, held him off at least this time around. Fields sorting it down the back straightaway. There's Dave Whitlock's car number 92 with some cosmetic damage on the Motorcraft machine. Right behind him, the 0-2, Mike McKenzie, one of the local drivers in action.
You just knew it was a matter of time before some of these cars started to show some battle scars, and the 0-2 of Mike McKenzie, the NTN Bearings car, got up in the loose stuff. He was right off the back chute entirely.
A little bit of agricultural racing for Mike McKenzie, but he kept the handles on the automobile, got it back onto the asphalt. There's the 27. Kim Wallace, now he's got a rear view mirror full of 72 Junior Hanley. Hanley, the GM Series champion, may have decided that now is the time to go to work.
He has sort of been hanging back in the weeds someplace, watching everybody else battle up front. But now he starts to make his move, but his car, you watch it in the corners, gets really loose and really squirrely. Whether that's the setup he wanted or the car's just evolved that way or not, I'm not sure.
Very unusual for Hanley to be struggling in the handling department. Here's another driver that's struggling. The 75, Harmon Beaver Dragon, 2-time ACT champion. He's a lap down early. The tough nights have been few and far between, though. Eric had a chance to talk to the Beaver.
The American-Canadian Tour. You know, it must be a rather comfortable place to race stock cars because for the most part, and unlike some other sanctioning bodies, the veterans, the guys who were around to get it going in day one, are still, for the most part, still here and showing those new young guys how it's done. 51-year-old Harmon Beaver Dragon is the first points champion ever crowned by ACT. At the age of 16, Beaver started racing an old 41 Buick Coupe at a Vermont track that boasted a new attention-grabbing announcer, Ken Squire.
Beaver worked at a garage in those early days, and when Jerry Cook, a multi-time NASCAR modified champion, stopped on the way through, Dragon wanted to build something similar.
Well, you could get away with a lot in those old days. Nobody really seemed to mind if you bent the rules just a little.
Yeah, back when I first started racing, of course, I started in a 1941 Buick Coupe. It came out of a junkyard for the guy I used to work for. We decided we wanted to go racing, so we said, well, we'll put this old Buick Coupe together. So we did. We went out there, and, you know, back then there was no such thing as slicks and stuff like this. So we ran, we put on an Army truck tire on the right front tire. And I think I ran that tire for about 90% of the summer. That summer, you know, it just was a 12-ply tire, and you couldn't wear it out.
Over better than 30 years in this sport, Beaver's had his share of wrecks, too.
I've had some good ones. One that I guess most of the people will remember is back at Catamount Stadium. The very last race they were going to have in the place before they bulldozed it under for a shopping center and stuff was that it was a New England 300. We were having our practices. We come down to the qualifying races, and Dave Dean and I were running wheel to wheel. We touched tires, and I started going through the air, and I flipped 7 times nose over tail, not side over side.
There was a gap in Beaver Dragon's career. He returned to the American Canadian Tour full-time last season after 4 years of running, well, here and there.
You get burned out after a while at doing it as long as I have, and I just thought that maybe the grass was greener on some other circuit, so I went to running dirt modifieds for a while, and I run some dirt modifieds and other things, and I also didn't run as much as I had, you know, in the past, and I just couldn't stand it. I finally, after a while, I listened to all the ACT races, you know, on the radio, and why aren't I there?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about Beaver Dragon's 51 years. After all, last season, he was runner-up to Junior Hanley in GM National Stock Car Series points and 3rd overall in ACT points with a number of top 10 finishes. No, I don't think I'd change a thing, because Harmon Beaver Dragon is definitely one of racing's colorful people. Brought to you by Kodak.
Back to live action. The leader continues to be Randy McDonald, the GM Parts Pro Shop Chevrolet. He's put some lap cars once again between himself and the second-place automobile of Ralph Nason. Matter of fact, 4 cars between himself and Nason. Randy McDonald really laying waste to the field right now.
The amazing thing about McDonald's car, Dave, it doesn't seem to be going away at all. It seems to be handling just as well now as it did at the beginning of the event.
Well, Randy McDonald has driven a smart race. He's driven hard enough to get away. Look out, trouble, it's the second-place automobile. Ralph Nason tangling up with a lapped car, the 67 of Steve Henderson. Severe damage, and Nason is livid, pounding the steering wheel. Roger Leperle's 00 torn up. The second-place car, Ralph Nason, badly damaged, as is Derek Lynch in the 15.
Boy, this is the first large bit of carnage that we've had out here. Nason getting in trouble with Steve Henderson, 67. Roger Leperle's got problems here, and we've got Derek Lynch on the radio.
Derek, the damage looks rather bad. What is it from your perspective?
I think it's just a tire, but I can't tell.
Get back out there.
Now we're going to try.
Well, you can hear the disappointment in Derek Lynch's voice. Roger Leperle back underway, minus most of the right-hand side bodywork on the St. Pierre Auction Chevrolet Lumina. That formerly beautiful car number 00 now will try and soldier on as he rejoins at the rear of the field. He's going to have to bring it back in, though. Still something hanging out from underneath that car, throwing up some sparks. Let's take a look on the replay. This is the Roger Leperle car. Right in front of him, Derek Lynch. Take a look as they head down the front straightaway. You can see trouble already in turn number 1. Field piles up. Lynch goes around. A multi-car shuffle.
And here are the cars still running just prior to the caution, halfway through the GM Motorsport 200.
Randy McDonald has led just about all the way, save for the early laps that belong to Ralph Nason and 1 lap on the previous restart. We'll see if somebody's got something for Randy McDonald on the outside this time around. McDonald, though, is going to have some lap cars as insulation. The Andre Beaudoin machine on the outside of row 1, a lap down. The lead lap cars, in this instance, down low. 27, Kim Wallace, 1X, Brad Lee.
Randy McDonald brings him around. John Holber, the green flag once again to turn him loose. And the GM Motorsport 200 underway again.
And once again, it's Randy McDonald driving away down the back straightaway, threads the needle, goes around the Derek Lynch car just off pit road, goes underneath the Andre Beaudoin machine, another tangle on the back straight.
Claude Leclerc in the 11 got all tangled up with Claire Bissett in the 77. And Claude's got trouble. This car will not steer.
Something broken on the right front suspension, perhaps a flat tire. Leclerc goes over the top. Ralph Nason overheating badly down into the infield. And we're going to have a caution flag. Claire Bassett is back underway, but Claude Leclerc still out in the wilderness trying to guide the Autopro Chevrolet back onto pit road. The yellow is out. Leclerc with a hole in the radiator, dumping fluid on the track, will take it down on pit road.
Things starting to get a little bit messy here on the halfway point. Here's the replay on how this mess got started.
Well, you can see Claude Leclerc bumped from behind, bounces off the 53 Dan Beatty, bounces off Mike McKenzie. Good piece of driving by Blair Bassett to get around the incident, but whoops. Well, at least for a minute, the 77 goes around and the caution flag flies.
Claude Leclerc, the object of our PRN trivia question, started the year out very, very well, but things have slowly gone downhill for him.
Let's go to the radio and chat with Robbie Crouch in the 48.
Gotcha, Eric.
Started in 10th, Robbie, now up to 4th place. How's the car handling? Pretty slippery out there.
It's slippery. My car's not right on tonight, but we're making a little progress. If we can stay out of trouble, we'll get a good finish.
This track has been awfully kind to you. You wouldn't want to see that streak broken, would you?
No, sir. If I can get a top 3 tonight, I'll be real happy.
Well, Tampa Tornado, Robbie Crouch in car number 48, soldiering on out there as a number of his counterparts have fallen by the wayside. There goes Ralph Nason, Old Faithful, blowing out from under the hood one more time. Boy, what a turnaround it's been for Nason. He had a chance to win this thing.
Never seen a steam-powered late model before, but out he goes. There's going to be some more work done on the Nason machine for sure.
Field lining up for the restart. Again, it will be Randy McDonald and the lap car of Andre Beaudoin in row 1. Then the second and third place cars will go side by side. 27, Kim Wallace down low. The 1X of Brad Layton up high. Now, Layton, last year's rookie, is going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat because he's stuck up high behind the slower car.
And you may have noticed in some earlier laps with the green flag coming out to turn him loose that Layton had some handling problems. The car getting very loose.
And Brad Layton did it. A great move down to the inside, filled the hole behind Kim Wallace, and Layton holds on to the number 3 position. McDonald away with the lead. Wallace right behind in second, going down to the inside of the Andre Beaudoin car. Then it's the 1X of Brad Layton. So the top 3 drivers all hold their spots on the restart.
McDonald again just going down low on the concrete or up high on the asphalt, kicking some debris aside as he goes around the corner. Here they come by the wall cam. This track getting a little bit dirty up on the high groove, getting down past the halfway part of the race.
Well, a lot of parts and pieces have been removed from various race cars, and some of them lie on the racetrack right now. Randy McDonald across the start-finish line puts another lap in the book, and once again, Eric, the GM Parts Pro Shop Chevrolet, slowly, methodically, but getting it done, pulling away from the field.
Some of the cars getting their right-hand wheels off onto the loose stuff, but tire wear so far really hasn't been a factor. We're noticing too the 27 of Kim Wallace and the 01 of Randy McDonald, they're just sticking where they want to go.
Well, after a caution period, the tires will be a little bit cooler, and they will stick well for 10 or 12 laps. Look out, Andre Beaudoin almost did a repeat. He was over the top in exactly that same spot earlier tonight. This time he hangs on to it. There's the battle. 1X Brad Layton, 48 Robbie Crouch. Layton idolized Robbie Crouch in his years as a support division racer, looked to Crouch for some advice and some tips in his first year on the circuit. But right now, forget it. Crouch is going to try and take him to school just one last time.
And you know Robbie Crouch is not going to rush this maneuver. He's got Brad Layton dead ahead of him. Going to try it low or try it high. Not sure exactly where to take it, but he mentioned on the radio a top 3 would make him pretty happy. Right now he's 1 position away from it. A heck of a battle here for 3rd.
And right behind, a pretty good battle for the number 5 spot. The youngster Scott Frazier just refuses to go away. He's being worked hard by Junior Hanley. But look at this, the Nova Scotia kid gets it done. Scott Frazier in the 0 holding on to 5th place.
Junior Hanley back there gets a little push from behind from Kevin LePage in the 21. Junior trying to get around this youngster who's just basically trying to stay out of the way, but he's doing a great job to hang on to his position.
And these Maritime fans really getting behind young Scott Frazier, one of their own, one of the local NASCAR racers. As we mentioned, his first ever ACT start, but he's making it a good one.
Back with your leader, the 01, the GM Parts Pro Shop Chevrolet Lumina. of Oshawa's Randy McDonald, the winner at Cayuga, as we mentioned, looking to make it 2 here in 92.
It seems impossible when you think about it. A former GM Series champion, but Randy McDonald, in his years of racing on the ACT, has only won 2 main events. He'd love to make it number 3 here tonight in a race that, quite frankly, he's dominated so far.
So far, so good for Randy. He had 3 second places last year, but he's hit pay dirt this year and just wants to add to those totals. He doesn't want Junior to get too far ahead in the GM National Stock Car Series standings.
Here's the battle once again for third. Brad Layton in the 1X, the 48 of Robbie Crouch. Layton, at least for the moment, appears like he's going to be able to hold him off. Once again, Eric, I think the brakes may be coming into play. Robbie Crouch made a good, solid run, pushed the car hard for 5 or 6 laps, but also heated those brakes up. When they get hot, the brakes go away.
That's right.
Crouch now backing off, cooling the car, and he'll make another run, I guarantee.
And a shame here for Ralph Nason in the 10 on the Mopar. He started out so well in this event, but the car just gradually going away. Looks like he's going to park it here.
Ralph has lost a number of laps, and it looks like he's headed behind the wall. Around the lap car of Blair Bassett. Crouch takes the opportunity to look down low, but Brad Layton in the 1X uses Bassett as a pick, rolls around him on the outside.
You're right, Nason in behind the wall. His evening is complete.
Junior Hanley has taken care, finally, of young Scott Frazier. And that 2-man battle for third, making a 3-man dance as Hanley in the 72, as always in the late stages of the race, has begun to turn it up.
You just knew that Crouch in the 48 and the 72 of Hanley were going to be there somewhere near the front when we first started this event, and that's what they're doing, moving up slowly towards the front, still trying to catch the 0-1 of Randy McDonald.
Unfortunately for Layton, Crouch, and Hanley, this battle of theirs is taking place a good half straightaway behind the leader, Randy McDonald. McDonald in the 0-1 so far tonight has had the speed just to put everybody at arm's length and just coast. Take it just as easy as he has to, pass the lap cars when he can, when it's most convenient, and let everybody else battle behind him.
You mentioned it, Dave. He's coming up on lap traffic right now. Randy McDonald on the backside here of Derek Lynch, just out of your picture in the 15. Is going to make sure that these back markers don't mess him up.
Randy McDonald, if he gets his choice, will do most of his passing on the inside. If not, he'll do it on the straightaways to save the tires, save the brakes. And Derek Lynch, who, like Ralph Nason, was off to a good start, now just trying to hang on. There's the remains of the unsacked Motorsports Buick as he tucks it in behind the leader, Randy McDonald.
It's more like a modified than a late model at this point, but these short tracks will do it to these cars.
Let's give a call to Kim Wallace, the rookie looking to record his best ever finish on the American Canadian Tour, running all by himself in second. Then there's the battle for third. Layton, Crouch, Hanley continue to go single file, but Hanley now is turning up the steam.
Man, Hanley tried to stick his nose on the inside of Crouch, and Robbie shut that door, and Junior was far enough back he could back out. I really thought that Hanley was in trouble there for a second, to try and tuck on the inside again, but they hit the front straightaway, and Crouch can just pull up just a little bit further.
But Eric, as we noticed before, coming off the corners, Junior Hanley's car just a little bit loose. The back end of the automobile skating up the racetrack. Yep. That's not the fast way around, especially when you're trying to pinch it down on the inside. Hanley does not have a perfect race car tonight, but let's give him credit. He's one of the toughest drivers in the business. He's got it in the top 5.
A car that is not handling the way he likes. If there's a guy that can wrestle a late model around this track, it is Junior Hanley, really putting the heat on Crouch in the 48.
Robbie Crouch has not got a perfect car either. He almost swapped ends coming out of turn 4 that time. And the big beneficiary of all these handling problems is young Brad Layton, as the 1X continues to hold forth in the number 3 position. Here's Hanley down low on Robbie Crouch, making the move for the spot. Crouch bumping and banging. Hanley fights his way to the inside, and now it's going to be a drag race heading for turn 3.
Here goes Junior, as they say so many times across Southern Ontario, takes the spot away from Robbie Crouch. He just picked his time and made the move.
Junior Hanley, now the number 4 automobile, will set his sights on the 1X of Brad Layton. But at the front, no contest. Randy McDonald just dealing with the lap cars. He'll move around the Blair Bassett 77 machine. Really, Randy McDonald, since the early stages of this event, has been in a race all by himself.
One of the luxuries of being out front, this is the view from Randy McDonald 01 on the Sony Dynamax Handycam. Being out front like that, knowing there's lap traffic between you and the second place car, you don't have to worry about the track. As you heard him on the radio earlier, the track gets slippery in different spots. If the track goes away, he doesn't have to rush his turns, and he gets into trouble that way. More from Raceline from Halifax in a moment.
Hi, welcome to the Castrol Tech Line. This year on Raceline, we've shown you just basically day races. Well, tonight, obviously, we're going to be dealing with a little bit of darkness. but the racers are going to have something else to contend with, and that's a transition in track surface here at Scotia Speedworld. Essentially, they change from a very short asphalt straightaway to concrete corners. And setup is the name of the game at Scotia. You want to be able to run that second groove. What do? One thing right off the bat they're going to do is they're going to decrease the size of the stagger. In other words, put a smaller right rear tire on. They'll go under the hood and under the rear end, get to the coil-over shock absorbers and jack some more weight into the left-hand side at the rear and at the right front. This will allow the car to track very, very flat around the racetrack. You need to be able to do it here at Scotia Speedworld. It's the fast way around the racetrack.
Continuing with the GM Motorsport 200, Eric Thomas, Dave Moody, and John Massingbird. The story has been the 0-1 of Randy McDonald out of Oshawa, Ontario. But Junior Hanley, Robbie Crouch, and Brad Layton are making their presence felt up near the top with about 30-35 laps to go here.
Brad Layton in the 1X has got his hands full. Junior Hanley working hard right now. He knows Randy McDonald, his main rival in the search for the GM Series Championship, has got himself a big lead. If Hanley can take over the number 3 spot, maybe catch a couple of timely caution flags, he may not yet be out of this thing. But right now, he's got a tough customer dead ahead. Brad Layton has driven a flawless race so far.
Talk about a tough customer up ahead. How about the guy in behind him here with Robbie Crouch? Really starting to put the pressure on Junior Hanley here. And Brad Layton just driving his race. He's not going to panic at all. He's going to drive the turns the way he wants to and let these two guys in behind battle it out.
Well, there's a close call. Dave Whitlock in the 92, losing it at the top of turn 4, came right in front of Layton. And Brad Layton, showing experience beyond his years, didn't touch the brakes, just kept the car down low, out of trouble, shot past the Dave Whitlock car, and the Motorcraft machine is back under power in turn 4.
I don't think he touched anyone or anything. He just sort of lost it up there all by himself. So the 91 Cast Car champion, who is starting to make a little bit of noise in ACT this year, still got that peeled back fender, but I don't think he's hit anything, so the car must be all right.
Down the back straightaway, Randy McDonald, the lapped cars, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the second place automobile of Kim Wallace. One more lap car, the 02 of Mike McKenzie. Then that 3-car battle of Layton, Hanley, and Crouch.
Thought I saw Doug Stokes in the 30 get really out of shape there, just out of your picture on the front chute. McDonald just hanging on to things here.
Randy McDonald really just riding. He's got no challengers for position right now. Roger LaPerle just kind of tagging on behind, trying to pick up some spots from the back markers. But Randy McDonald, barring mechanical problems, barring an off-road excursion, or a slew of caution flags here at the end, is going to be a tough customer to beat.
Here's Brad Layton in the 1X and the 72 of Junior Hanley, getting by the 02 of Mike McKenzie, who stays down to the low groove. Junior pulls back just a little bit, making sure he can get around safely here.
Brad Layton, as we've mentioned, a youngster, and only his second year of competition on the American-Canadian Tour, but he's got some real veterans back on pit road on the radio to talk him through this thing. Robert Deering, multi-time Rudy Hale Crew Chief of the Year award winner. Gardner Levitt, the head of the first family of the American-Canadian Tour with over 35 years of racing himself. They've got this kid calm. He's dialed in, he's focused, he knows what he's got to do, and apparently it's working because he's breaking away from Junior Hanley.
You know, Layton had some heavy-duty wrecks in his first couple of events with ACT. A few people thought he was in over his head, but he's really calmed things down now and doing a great job out here.
Brad Layton made a very difficult jump. He came from the limited sportsman racers in New England. 305 cubic inch engines, street tires, really. Not a very high-tech race car, but Gardner Levitt and his wife June, the owners of this team, saw some talent, plucked him out of those ranks, put him in the car, and boy, what a great decision it was. Right now, there's only a couple of guys in front of him, and one of them, though, is Randy McDonald.
Yeah, all the talent so far this evening has been with a 01. Call him the Golden Boy out of Oshawa, Ontario. There's a look at Brad Layton. He has run a V6 in this car before, but as of next year, no more V6s allowed in ACT. It'll all be V8s.
And the 1X team, the Ferox Newlack Buick crew with the V8 in this weekend here for the Maritime Swing. Two tough racetracks that need a lot of horsepower, and Brad Layton is making the most of it as he holds down third, Hanley fourth, Crouch fifth, but a little bit of daylight beginning to develop between those cars now.
But the spotlight has really been burned in on this man right here. Randy McDonald in the 01 out of Oshawa. He has led a lion's share of this event. He's getting boxed in somewhat here behind the 20-year-old of Owen Sound, Robbie Thompson, the 25, but he's not in a hurry here. He's got all kinds of time with that sizable lead, Dave.
Randy McDonald has the luxury of time. He can follow Robbie Thompson, move to the outside when he wants to, or he can wait, hope that Thompson makes a bobble that will allow him to get underneath. Randy McDonald running a very intelligent race. McDonald has always been one of the more methodical, calculating drivers on the GM Series, and that really has put him at the front here tonight.
Randy McDonald hangs on to it here. Car not going away at all. I find that amazing on such a physical track like this, that the car has just maintained the way it handles right from the very beginning until this point in the race.
Well, his car has been so fast, Eric, that he really hasn't had to manhandle it. He hasn't had to do a whole lot of racing with cars that were his equal here tonight. He spent most of the day just lapping people. The battle for second, third, fourth, fifth, and on back, that's been a half a track or at least a full straightaway behind. Randy McDonald has got a lot left on car number 01 right now. The big question is, will anybody make him use it?
Back to the battle with Brad Layton and the 1X and Junior Hanley looking for his 8th win in ACT.
And they have reeled in the number 2 car. Kim Wallace in the Flexmore Chevrolet now looks out the back window and sees the 1X of Layton, sees the 72 of Hanley, and not far behind, there's Robbie Crouch in the 48. It looks like we're going to have a Donnybrook for second.
You just heard the bullets go into the chamber for Junior Hanley. He sets his sights on second place. A little bit of a wave there, a little bit of a wobble, looking for that hole. He wants second place, and he's just going to creep up in behind Kim Wallace here and take it away from Layton, but he's going to have to hurry here.
And as you see them go by through the corners, you can see the brakes on all 3 of those cars are cherry red. There's nobody holding anything back now. It's crunch time. The cards are on the table. McDonald way out in front, but the battle for second is going to be a good one. Kim Wallace, Brad Layton, Junior Hanley, and Robbie Crouch. Layton to the inside one more time.
Pressure is on the young man from Center Harbor, New Hampshire. He's got Wallace up ahead and Junior Hanley in behind. If you asked him before the race, would you want to be in that position, he'd say, no, I don't. But that's what he's facing right now.
Well, and I guarantee he's happy to be there because he may have the quickest car of this group. He looks down to the inside of Kim Wallace. Now he'll have to postpone the attack momentarily as Wallace goes up to the outside of a group of lap cars. Whoa! Brad Layton is sideways. Gathers it up in a hurry, and that is a great piece of driving by young Brad Layton.
But that might have just been the advantage that Junior Hanley needed. The little bobble there by Brad Layton, allowing him to get alongside the 1X of Brad Layton. Let's see what happens. There's your leader, Randy McDonald in the 01.
You know, that's the first time tonight, Eric, that we've seen the 1X do anything but run strong on the bottom of the racetrack. And for a fellow like Junior Hanley, that little sideways slide is like blood in the water for a shark. Because if the Layton car is going away, Junior Hanley plans to be there to take advantage.
Just that one little stutter step, one little hesitation. You can be sure that Junior's going to be there to take full advantage of it.
Randy McDonald continues just scything his way through this field. It'll be Kevin LePage going a lap down. Ahead of him, the 46 of Bill Zardo. Then the Scott Fraser automobile. Eric, these are not back markers.
No.
These are top 10 or 12 automobiles. McDonald just has blown everybody away.
Oh, he has been absolutely magnificent here tonight. The car has run perfectly right from the throw of the first green, and he's hoping to the throw of the checkered flag.
The 0 of Scott Fraser right now by my count running in the number 6 position.
Oh no!
Brad Layton has gone around. The 1X apparently getting into a bump and run session with Junior Hanley. My goodness, what a heartbreaker for the youngster. Layton in the 1X, the 3rd place automobile now is going to have to go to the back.
What a tough break for Brad Layton, but he had been doing that. Now there's some handling problems here. He's up in the loose stuff, but the car was getting squirrely. The back end was coming at him a couple of times, and that one just may have been the, well, cut your throat, I suppose.
Well, we're going to have to see the replay to know exactly what happened. Brad Layton is not a happy camper right now. He got back on the track in front of Randy McDonald. The question now will be from scoring, whether Layton got back on the track in time to avoid going a lap down. Boy, what a stake in the heart that would be for Brad Layton to go from the 3rd place car to a lap down with just a handful of circuits remaining.
And Dave Moody, a perfect handful, just 5 laps to go. Over on the extreme right-hand side of your screen, the white dot, and now the smoking dot. That's Brad Layton all by himself. I don't think he touched anybody or anything. He just went all the way around.
Well, it's hard to say if there was some contact from behind from Junior Hanley or not. I guarantee Brad Layton will have something to say about it one way or another. But now, not only is it bad news for Layton, it's bad news for Randy McDonald.
Indeed.
McDonald was not even within shouting distance of 2nd place a moment ago. But now, with just 5 laps to go, he's going to have to earn his way to victory lane one more time. Wallace, Hanley, Crouch, and how about young Scott Fraser, now the 5th place automobile.
Magnificent job by young Scott Fraser, but how many times in ACT has it been Junior and McDonald, McDonald and Junior, and Robbie Thompson on pit row in car 25 here?
Robbie Thompson getting some last-minute changes, some last-minute adjustments to get him into the final 5 laps of this event. This restart is really going to decide some position because there are a number of lap cars mixed into the suit back through the first 5 or 6 rows of this restart lineup. That could be bad news for Hanley, Frazier, Wallace, Zardo, Crouch. Any of the above, if they get caught in the wrong line, are going to go backwards. Conversely, if they're in the right line, they're going to move up.
Green flag is up. It is a 5-lap sprint to the finish. Randy McDonald. Can Junior Hanley catch him? Let us see. Green flag, and away goes McDonald off the bat like he's done so many times in this event.
McDonald has got a lot of lap traffic between himself and Hanley. I think the battle is going to be for second. Down to the inside, moving is Hanley. He's got the number 2 spotted. Young Scott Frazier is on the move. He's dialed the right lane, and the 0 is charging up through the back now.
What a job by Scott Frazier. First show ever with ACT. There's Junior Hanley in the 72.
Hanley down to the inside of the lap car of Dave Whitlock, and you can see it's bumper to bumper. There's Kim Wallace. He's the 3rd place automobile. Robbie Crouch is hung out to dry. The 48 is going backwards. Scott Frazier moves underneath to the number 4 spot.
Not bad for a guy whose basic job today is just to stay out of the way.
This crowd is loving it. Young Scott Frazier with a top 5 finish in hand. Randy McDonald, laps winding down on his way to victory. In the GM Motorsport 200, a dominating performance for the GM Parts Pro Shop machine. Down to the line he comes. McDonald in the 0-1, beginning to reel it in now.
Oh, yeah, he can smell this one. Looking for his 2nd win this year, the 3rd of his career. A big boost in his points to stay within range of Junior Hanley in the GM National Stock Car Series.
Final time out of turn 4. Checkered flag is up, and Randy McDonald wins the GM Motorsport 200. A dominating performance by the driver of the GM Parts Pro Shop Chevrolet.
Just a splendid job out here by Randy McDonald on Raceline, leading all but 19 of 200 laps on a track of this size. That is amazing.
He dominated from start to finish, one of his premier showings of the year. Junior Hanley gets 2nd. A great day for young Scott Frazier as he takes 3rd. Kim Wallace 4th, Bill Zardo 5th, then Crouch, LePage, the bad luck driver of the night, Brad Layton, followed by Doug Stokes and Andre Baudouin.
And look at this capacity crowd coming down to the fence here. No one is leaving as Randy McDonald grabs the checkers for the victory lap. No one's going home. What a great crowd, what a great night, and what a great job they saw by Randy McDonald.
Biggest crowd in the history of this speedway, and nobody going home unhappy tonight as Randy McDonald really put on a show.
Back to talk to the winner on Raceline from Halifax in a moment. Welcome back to Raceline from Halifax. Randy McDonald, a great drive, and here's John with the winner.
Well, he led this deal from lap 76. Randy McDonald, 200 laps of racing here in the GM Parts race tonight. Congratulations on your win.
Thanks a lot, John. It was pretty tense. I know we had a big lead and everything, but the track really got slippery. The lane changed the whole race. One time it was good down low, then it was good in the middle, then it was good on the outside. So I don't know, I just threw a little bit on pins and needles and hoping there wouldn't be a yellow there with a few laps to go.
What was Gina telling you over your radio, your wife Gina, over the radio?
Just stay smooth, that they'd close a little bit in the corner, but if we stayed smooth and got a nice clean exit, that we'd be able to pull on them. And nobody really, we're doing our lap times and juniors and everybody else, and we're consistently a 10th or 2 quicker, so just held our pace. And
the name of the game in this thing tonight was staying out of trouble?
I think the name of the game was before the track got all messed up, getting to the front early, taking the chance going on the outside there. I didn't know if it was going to stick, but I just had enough room that there wasn't anybody pressuring behind me, so I took a chance, went to the outside. I probably surprised Ralph a little bit because he didn't figure anybody try out there. It stuck like glue, and boom, we were gone. So that was probably the key to the whole race.
Well, congratulations. I think they want to go see you over in Winners, sir.
Will do. Thanks a lot.
Randy McDonald, the winner of the GM Parts 200 from Scotia Speedworld.
And McDonald's victory does this with 4 events to go in the GM National Stock Car Series. Hanley still on top with 832, but it's now a 44-point lead over Randy McDonald, who's still standing in 2nd place, but closing in. Robbie Crouch is 3rd with 717.
Let's check in down at Victory Lane with the Wonder Boy himself, Scott Frazier.
Well, if you ever wanted to show well, this was the place to do it. The home track for Scott Frazier. And Scott, your debut run with ACT, a 3rd place finish, a fantastic run.
Yeah, we were hoping for top 10 when we come here, but we got the 3rd place finish, and we couldn't ask for a better finish. Like, the car and the crew really worked hard today, and the car stayed under me. I actually faded it today, so I'm not used to running 200 laps. I'm only used to running 100. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, you looked like Richard Petty out there tonight. You were in the thick of it all evening long. Congratulations on your third place finish, and good luck down the road.
Thank you very much.
Scott Fraser, he finished number 3 tonight at Halifax.
Time now for the Revell Model Performance driver of the race, Dave Moody. This is simple. Randy McDonald.
No contest, a hands-down winner in the competition as he was on the racetrack. This is as close as it gets, folks. Randy McDonald taking the lead from Ralph Nason. From there, untouched to victory lane.
Well, Dave Moody, from a young man who finished second 3 times last year and no victories, all of a sudden has 2 with his win at Cayuga and a win here in Halifax.
Well, Junior Hanley in the first 10 races laid down the gauntlet. He issued the challenge, and it looks like Randy McDonald may be the man to pick it up in the second half of the season.
Well, those little adversaries were back there churning around. Junior made it close, and so did Robbie Crouch.
Great run for second, third, fourth, right on back tonight. And they're all ready. They'll tee it up again next time out at Riverside Speedway, and it should be just as good.
Well, this really tightens things up in the GM National Stock Car Series points. We'll see what happens at Antigonish. That's going to do it from here on behalf of John Massingbird and Dave Moody. I'm Eric Thomas. So long from Halifax.
Racing radios provided by New Venture Communications, London, Ontario. In-car and wall cameras supplied by Sony Canada, makers of the Sony Handycam. Raceline has been brought to you by GM Parts, the expert choice. Kodak Gold Plus Film. You can't keep the moment without Kodak. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars. Revell, the world's model maker. And by Budweiser Racing. It's a Bud race.
Questions or comments for Raceline? Drop us a line at Post Office Box 551, Caledonia, Ontario, Canada, NOA 1AO, or give us a call at area code 416-765-0170.